Once you've rolled out the crust, you're gonna need a pie plate to put it in. This is a 9-inch pie plate. You can see how deep it is. This is a 10-inch pie plate. See how much deeper it is? You can actually put the entire 9-inch pie plate into the 10-inch pie plate. The recipe that I'm going to give you, which is what I call the 1-2-3-1-2-3 recipe, will actually work with either of these pie plates. It's the filling that makes the difference. In this pie plate, you don't need quite as much filling as you would in this pie plate. And you won't have, you're going to trim a lot of crust off of this one if you make it. You're not going to be trimming anything off of this thing. So you can use either kind of pie plate. They'll both work. So we're breaking down this recipe now. And so we talked about 1-2-3, 1-2-3. So once again, our 1 is flour, all-purpose flour. And we're just going to, this is not a terribly exact science. 1 cup of flour. And a ½ teaspoon of salt, which we always measure our salt not over our actual bowl, because too much salt could pour into that bowl, and we want to make sure that we only get a ½ teaspoon. There's a ½ teaspoon of salt, and we're going to mix that together. And then we're going to put in our 1/3 cup of butter. Now, the nice thing about butter is it comes in these handy little measuring sticks, and so you can cut exactly 1/3 of a cup of butter. Remember, this is a single crust pie, so if you were making a double crust pie, you simply double this recipe. So just put our pats of butter in the bowl. Once we get to a point that our flour and butter looks kind of like couscous or maybe coarse cornmeal, something like that, I'll show you what it looks like. Then we're ready for our ice water. Okay, we're almost there. Every so often, you might want to take the butter off your pastry blender. It's okay to touch it, as long as your hands are clean. Now we're ready for our ice water. We put it in just a tablespoon at a time because the flour is going to absorb water from the air. And sometimes we don't need 3 tablespoons of water. We only need 2.5 for a single crust pie. This is how it looks after that first mixing. Okay, see how much grainier it's gotten? Now we're going to put in the second full tablespoon. And we mix that. And what happens is, if there was anything stuck to the edge of the bowl, it's gathering onto the pastry blender. And so when it does this, you know that you've got pie crust. So what we do is we gather this pie crust off the pastry blender. We gather it into the bowl, to the bottom center of this bowl. And we want to form a nice smooth ball, because once we get the moisture in this, we don't want to handle it a whole lot, meaning we don't want to roll it out more than once. So in order to make this ball roll out beautifully, we want to get rid of all the cracks in the dough. So you can see me, I'm using my thumbs to do this. Here's another way of doing this. You just take it and you throw it into the bottom of the bowl. It's very therapeutic. Okay, so we're going to let this dough ball rest for 20 minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, So now we're going to flour our roll pat. And we can be really liberal with the flour here. You want to get it as all over. And flour our hands, flour the pin. Everything needs to have the flour on it, because, including our dough ball, because otherwise it's going to stick. And so we just kind of roll it like we're a little kitty cat playing with a ball of yarn. Now, rolling dough does not have to be frightening. Just start to flatten it out. Don't rush it. It's going to take some time. But you start in the middle and you roll to the outside. And you keep moving, and every so often you might want to pick it up because you're not going to have anything underneath it and you don't want it to stick. Okay, make sure your dough, your pin has plenty of flour on it, and we just keep rolling it until we get it to the right size for our pie plate. This, since I know this roll pat and how big it is, I know that this is probably about the right size for that 10-inch pie plate. You don't want to make it too thin because then it gets very hard to move. Let me show you how we're going to put this into the pie plate. So I'm using my big 10-inch pie plate, and what we're going to do is just fold it and pick it up and just put it right into the middle of that pie plate and unfold it and just arrange it in the bottom. Now, if this were double crust pie, I just want to make sure that I'm getting the pie crust all around the lip of the plate, because I'm going to have to seal those crusts. This is a single crust pie, and it's much simpler. So all I have to do is just make sure that this pie crust is all over the bottom of this pie plate. And then we use a fork, a knife, and we want to prick our crust so we let air out of it and it doesn't bubble up. Your crust is ready for whatever filling you want to put in it. If you'd like to put in the apple and peach recipe that I made up myself, you can click on the next video and we'll show you how to do that.